not the first conference focusing on a particular kind of technology to enhance privacy, but it is for sure the first meeting which takes this very practical approach in the engineering privacy on the internet kind of way. And that is so for various reasons. Let me mention you a few. First, there is a general problem. Privacy regulators and legislators have been investing considerably in defining and interpreting legal rules for the protection of personal data and privacy, and that's for many years. And a number of activities go together with this. But at the same time, we see that new internet tools and applications are still often implemented and deployed without proper privacy and data protection safeguards. There is an obvious gap between those activities, and the gap seems to be increasing. This trend increases the risk for the privacy individuals. It increases the risk for embedded surveillance rather than embedded privacy, and that despite all the efforts of data protection authorities and privacy advocates. So this seems to be something of a Sisyphus work. Last year, and that is a second consideration, which frankly was also an opportunity. Last year, the revelations which you're all aware of about surveillance have shown huge risks for vulnerability, risk for the confidentiality and security of personal information, any information in fact, and much higher than most people have ever believed. But this experience has also been a wake-up call for societies. It has shaken the world, but it has also done something to the people who have been active in building the infrastructure we currently have. That is, it's made internet engineers feel that they have not done enough to defend user privacy. Somewhat of an idea that willy-nilly they've been abused, and they have decided to treat mass surveillance as a technical challenge to see how privacy could be embedded better than it is currently the case. Now, a third consideration is that we at the European Data Protection Supervisor's Office have been very lucky last year in having one of the leading internet engineers as a short-term expert in our office. A month or so only, but that was a very fruitful period of interaction, brainstorming and reflection, and that expert is here today with us, and Hannes Schöfenich, he will speak a few times. But last year, in the course of the fall, we have together with him looked at engineering, internet engineering, the world, how it works, how it is, in fact, working in a way that weaknesses arise that could lead to weaker protection, and the vulnerabilities we have now learned about. It set off an intense brainstorming effort, but just a few words on how these tools and applications are developed. We will be discussing this. But one problem is that this development is highly distributed. The various elements do not even know of each other what they're doing. Every phase introduces different vulnerabilities, and together they produce multiple vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities which can be and have been exploited by attackers, and some, as we know, have probably used them all and have been therefore so incredibly pervasive in their surveillance efforts. Attempts to improve Internet security and privacy require, therefore, efforts by many at different layers and for a longer time. We cannot assume that this will be a one-time effort. But today is a beginning, and we try to bring different worlds together and go for multipliers, therefore, to eventually also find the shortcut which in normal practice DPAs have so far never taken. And let me emphasize that I'm so pleased that this effort from the Data Protection Authority side is supported by a large number, and that so many of you in other ways engaged with this problem have registered and are here today. But one problem in all this is that even with the best of intentions, developers have also constraints. There is a lack of attention for privacy, also due to the fact that there is a lack of appropriate tools and best practices. There is not a tradition at all to think in terms of privacy. And where it happens, it is too dispersed. There is the time pressure, the need to deliver quickly in order to minimize time to market and just take the easy path and therefore recycle the well-known, unhelpful, traditional approaches. There are few building blocks for privacy-friendly applications and services. Of course, they exist, but they have their own limitations and challenges to be picked up in the market. And in short, they're not so being used so extensively as necessary. And if they're used, they're not always used correctly. So for a number of years, data protection authorities have been building up technological competence. That certainly is the case since a wake-up call in an early stage, so by 2005 or around that time. And many have for a long time been comparing their notes and their experiences. In fact, Berlin has been chosen for this event for very good reasons, which Alexander Dix will no doubt further clarify. But particularly in Berlin, for 30 years, groups have been meeting to do exactly that, and have been very successful. But this competence, as it has been developed in recent years, is used in inspections, in technological analysis, policy advice on technological matters. But we think the next step should be to engage more directly with developers, and that's the shortcut we're actually aiming at. It may be a long shot, this shortcut, but again, I think we should try, and we have an excellent starting point today. So that's the background of what is now the IPEN initiative, the Internet Privacy Engineering Network. Its ultimate purpose is to narrow and to close the gap between available technical tools and best practices and privacy needs. It should encourage the development and dissemination of privacy-friendly tools and methods. The first step in this endeavor is, of course, to create communication, better communication, direct exchange between privacy experts and developer communities in business, free software, and academia. This event is an important focal point in that endeavor, but I've already seen that the mailing lists and all that is connected to it has served to allow this discussion to take off, and I hope it will be increasing in the course of today and beyond. Now, today's agenda, the first step is indeed building a network of privacy experts and developers of internet services and applications. There are many initiatives already working on technical privacy and security issues. I hope we can exchange on what is happening, that we can find some areas which are still fairly underserved. But taking stock of all these initiatives and facilitating communication between them will improve the impact of all the good work that is already happening and will serve to allow further work to take off. It will also allow identifying, as I said, gaps and use cases, because this is a practical focus. Use cases for which privacy-preserving building blocks, design patterns and other tools are needed. This gap analysis should provide the basis for future work, which could consist of various working groups that analyze requirements and design and implement privacy-friendly building blocks. All to be discussed. So you may call what has happened a call for action. This today is certainly a call for action, and I think many of you have heard the call. Surveillance and privacy not being implemented sufficiently in the digital environment generally and the internet more specifically is a huge threat to privacy and social well-being. Stored data compromise as well. Many activities to design new communication protocols are ongoing. This is the perfect time, I would say, to raise awareness for all the privacy threats in this context. So today is also an invitation to brainstorm, to exchange, and we hope that something actionable or a number of things actionable will come out. Actionable because we should not stay at the surface of theories and good intentions. It's action, it's result. Privacy needs to be felt on the ground, and in reality, that's the ultimate test. And before closing, let me recognize and warmly thank for the work which went into this, not only from the hosts, co-hosts, but most of all from those on the EDPS staff and elsewhere, in Berlin and in Brussels and elsewhere, who've been working so hard to make this possible. Achim's team, I hope for a great day. I wish you well. I'll stay here to observe how effective our discussions will be. Thank you.